Greer, welcome to the Untypical Parent Podcast. Thank you ever so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's really exciting to have you on today. We had a little bit of miscommunication with our first start. I actually thought Greer was still in America um, because of her lovely accent, but I just made that presumption that you were in America. In actual fact, you're here with us in the UK, so it made timings much easier rather than
Yes.
trying to organise timings abroad and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So welcome. Delighted to have you on the podcast today. Greer, tell us a little bit about you and your
Yeah.
family.
So I grew up in the US. I grew up in Seattle. My family actually no longer live there, but they all live in the US still.
Yeah.
And yeah, I came over to the UK about 15 years ago. Married a Brit, have two kids now. We just renovated our house, so England is home. And in that process, particularly in the last kind of 2.5, 3 years, really navigating the neurodivergent world. And it started with my son, who is autistic ADHD. And we started to notice things when he was 2, which was the end of the pandemic. So I'm not going to lie, we had quite a few people, medical professionals, say, "Oh, it's just because of the pandemic."
Yeah.
And we were like, "No, like it's just something else." And it's the one question I get asked quite a few times, like, how did I know my son had autism? No one cares about the ADHD part, which I'm like, some days it's the ADHD part is like the hard
Really?
part.
It's
Yeah,
the
more
autism bit they
people
ask about.
ask about the autism, and which that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find that really interesting. But and I always just say it's a mama's gut. Like it's that kind of, it was just this feeling that I saw him on the playground, or how he would interact with different things like toys, or and it was just like, this isn't quite normal, like, or typical, kind of that behavior, but
Yeah.
it's him, and so I don't want to discourage it. It was just this weird internal battle, I remember, for the longest time. And then when he went to nursery, that's when we really saw it come out, because he get overwhelmed. He loves people so much that he doesn't know how to regulate that emotion of love. And so
Yeah.
he just gets really overwhelmed when he's with people, and it can just be like so much. So yeah, so that was a fun journey. I always say nursery, uh they're horrible. They would regularly tell me I was a horrible parent. Regularly tell
Really?
me that my child was bad. I would say, I think he has this, and they were like, no, he doesn't. He's just spoiled. Like, it was a
Oh,
really bad experience, very traumatizing. I still have, like, there's two reasons I went to counseling, and they're one of them. Because they were just so, and they just did not want to help or support us. It was just weird. And it was weird because the teacher, his class teacher, was kind of the opposite. She was like, "Oh, I really think, with the right support and help, he could really thrive." And I'm like, "Why are you not, like," it was just that it was so weird. Like, his teacher was really great, but the kind of rest of the admin were just not great.
did they, did they
But
make
yeah.
you question your, because you said that you had this kind of this mama's gut feeling, and I think a lot of the time we get, maybe with professionals or I don't know, society, we start to question that. Did you lose that during the nursery bit, that you lost that kind of
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
sense
I
of
mean,
I'm
I
right?
did several parenting courses.
Yeah.
I look back, I'm like, yeah, no, that was a waste of time and money. But because it's just, they weren't the right parenting course. They
Yeah.
weren't bad, but they just weren't the right ones. But yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it sent me into a spiral, really, of, I always kind of say that was the start of my, like, kind of a depression period,
Yeah.
because you're being told you're horrible. Like, who's not going to be sad about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, yeah, I mean, I really questioned, like, I mean, there was one point where I was like, should we give these children away? Like, because we're such horrible people. Like, apparently we are horrible parents who have no idea what they're,
Oh,
like, all these things, which is, yeah, like, deep, dark thoughts that you
yeah.
just, never think you're ever going to have. But when
Pushed
you
you
think,
that far.
yeah, and you think they're professionals, so they know. Like, that was, I think, as well. And that was when the first kind of big aha moment of, I'm not saying professionals don't know, but professionals don't know. Like, if that makes sense. Like, and that actually I'm my child's voice and no one else is gonna quote unquote care as much as I do, if that makes any sense. And so yeah, it was a really, that year was really hard and really eye-opening, but it was also like I look back and can see there was like seeds planted that we're now reaping the harvest from because of how like I had to learn quick how to advocate for my kid. Like basically I had to learn so quick, and I had to learn the law really quickly because I'm not not being from England. I mean, even people in England don't even
Yeah,
know
let's say I
the
don't
law.
know
So
it.
it's not like,
Yeah.
but it's that idea like I think back and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I would have been such of an advocate for just not just for my child, but kind of other people as well,
Mm.
particularly people who aren't from the UK, who I definitely think that was played by, I don't know, obviously the nursery never said this or will probably ever say it, but like I definitely think they played into, oh, you're American. Because my husband my husband worked like, so I was the one who did this, the nursery drop off and pick up. And so
Yeah.
I definitely think they like really played into that. And I've seen it in other settings, not just in nursery settings, where they've played into the fact that English is not their first language, like
Yeah.
they kind of really play into that. And so because of that, I became, I say, a chat GBT expert of the law.
Mm.
um and like, yeah. And so from there, we met with school before school started because I was like, you know, just I want him to love school, like, and having an education background. So I um have a degree in education.
Okay.
Um that like I wanted him to have that love for learning basically. And so we
Yeah.
met with school before he started, and I know for a fact we walked out of that room and they turned to each other and were like, "Oh, those are helicopter parents." And just like they're just like really protective. Because they basically just said, "Oh, we'll give it a week and then we'll reconvene and have a conversation." Even though we were like, "Okay, he's on the pathway for a diagnosis." Um, and we had the nursery wouldn't do anything, so we had to do that. We had to go and like I'd like go. I had to the amount of times I went to the GP and was like, "You need to do this diagnosis." Um, and so I just think that they were like, "He's crazy," or like they're just kind of, all over it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was day 2 of school. We got a phone call saying that they couldn't cope. Not that he couldn't cope, they couldn't cope
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
school. And so again, it was just another reminder of, yeah, they're doing what's in their best interest, not necessarily what's in my son's best interest. And yeah, don't get me wrong, he was totally out of control because he was loving the new people. Like he was like, these are new people, like these are all my friends. And like I don't know what to do with all this energy. So
Yeah.
um he just started getting naked because that's his favorite thing. So if you ever come to my house, you'll see a naked child because he
Okay.
loves not being in clothes.
Yeah.
So that again kind of was like another, like I call it the full kick start. So nursery was like was getting me to the start line, and then that was like our kickstart to just like, okay, we're gonna do this, and this is where we're at. And so in that process as well, not to mention all that advocating, but also realizing that I have ADHD. So going through that process of
So were
getting
you
diagnosed for that.
diagnosed? So you got diagnosed as well
Yeah, yeah.
around
So I
the
went
same
through the right
time?
to choose pathway, which I highly recommend to anyone. It is free. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you still have to pay for it," and I'm like, "No, you don't have
No.
to pay for it. It's still
Yeah.
free." I think it's like I did like 8 months. I think about it took me about, which yeah, I know. I think waiting times have gone up now, so don't don't quote me on that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I did that, and it just I remember getting that paper and being like, wow, okay. Like it just, I felt like a big weight had been lifted off of me that I didn't even know I had, I didn't even know I was carrying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, all of that was happening. And then my husband, he's not been formally diagnosed, but we definitely think he has autism, like a level 1 autism,
Okay.
just from what we know of autism, what we've learned, and kind of just, thinking back through his childhood. And
Yeah.
yeah, he's like, there's no point in getting diagnosed because it's like a crazy long wait list, even if you did the right to choose. And he's like, there's zero support out there for adults. So he's like, there's no point. Which I'm
Greer,
like,
when you said level one, I know as Americans you use that kind of
mhm.
just in case people are listening and thinking, well, what does level one mean? Because in this country we don't use the levels.
Yeah.
What does that
So
mean?
yeah, so level one is okay. This and like people might come at me, which I'm more than happy to talk about. But level one is what I call everyday autism. So it's the like, and again, it's a very big generalization, and everyone's different. But it's
Yeah.
that kind of you look at someone and they're like, oh, they're a bit different, like, or that was a weird response. Like they still have a job. I mean, my husband's a nurse. He still can like function on his own, but he
Mm-mm.
just there's kind of things that he doesn't pick up on, particularly emotions, like he or tone of like voice and things. So it's just kind of
Yeah.
little minor things. And then there's a level two, which is a little more needs a little more help, needs a little more. So our son is classed as a level two, and it's a lot of that is also sensory is kind of brought into level two.
Okay.
So often if there's higher sensory needs, so I mean, my husband, he has headphones in all the time, like he uses loop or he has his AirPods in because noise is like something that
Mm.
can affect him, but it's kind of a little bit more for our son. It's a little more not exaggerated in a bad way, but just intense. And
Yeah.
so he also has that, and also struggles with irregulation, like a particularly emotional regulation. So there's level two, and then level three is kind of the nonverbal. It's kind of what level three is. What I say is like kind of what everyone thinks autism is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the nonverbal, will likely need high care needs, that I think is kind of
Yeah.
also other language. So
Yeah.
yeah, so those are three levels that I don't know, for me helps to explain it, because there'll be people who are like, particularly my husband, they're like, he doesn't have autism. And I'm like, well, yeah, have you like, let me explain a situation that happened once, or, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, like I can see that now, or, and I'm like, yeah, it's not I know what you think autism is. And no, he does not have that, but like it is a spectrum. And so
Yeah.
therefore it's big and wide, and
Yeah,
yeah.
it just interests me, I think, because I think my son is autistic and he is on the internet quite a lot and does quite a lot on the internet. And he came down to me and said to me, I've been talking to this person, and they keep talking about levels and I don't understand what they mean. Because, of course, in this country, we don't have them. So I was
Yeah.
trying to explain and thinking, actually, I don't know a lot about this, so I need to find out a bit more. And I just thought, because you'd mentioned it, I thought I'll just
Yeah.
drop it in there because there is this difference kind of sometimes in the way it's the terms and the terminology behind it. And so I know in America there is these levels to it, but in this
Yeah.
country we don't have the levels. So that was just my interest bit because I think he
Yeah.
was so
No. Yeah.
confused by it. He was like, "What does it mean? I've got what level? This person told me I had a level, and I don't know what he means." Um, so I think so you've kind of been through a lot in quite a short space of time, Greer. Actually,
Yeah.
how old's your son now?
He's 7, so we've been on
Okay.
for, yeah, 4 years.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
It's
yeah.
been a yeah. I kind of say there's two examples I use. The amount of knowledge I have learned in the last 4 years is like like a fire truck hose, like just being. I asked for a drink of water and they turned on the fire truck hose, and it's just been like in my
And trying
face.
to brace yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's just this like whoosh instead of a nice glass, like let's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
take a sip at a time. It's like let's just throw it all at you.
Yeah.
Which in one sense, it's a lot. It is a lot. It's a lot to process. It's a lot to do. I am a big fan of therapy. I think everyone should go to therapy,
Yeah, me too.
particularly if you're raising a neurodivergent child. But I think as well, having a village of people who get it, which I have built over the last 4 years,
Mm,
um, has really helped, because I mean, I have this WhatsApp group who I've never met some of them in person. It's always just been through WhatsApp, which is a little like you're like, oh, that's a little scary, but it's really great because it's just I can just go in there and be like, today's been hard,
yeah.
like, or this has happened. Anyone have advice, or and it's a mixture of people who have kids who are older and kids who are younger and kids who are similar age, like, and some are in, there's some in Australia, some in South Africa, some in England, some in America. Like they're all over. So they all have kind of different perspectives. And so it's really freeing that I don't have to explain, but I also know, they're going to get it and they're
It
going
makes
to give
such a
advice
difference,
that is
doesn't it?
sound.
Yeah, to find another group of people that get it. And I think when we were in schools and stuff like that, I mean, my son's not in school at the moment. He's educated at home on the ATOS package. But I think when you're in school, my feeling was it started to kind of we started to veer off, and I've became more and more isolated really about, where we could go and what we could do and what he could manage and what his behaviors would be like if we went to parties and all that kind of thing. And it becomes really, really lonely. And like you're talking about, finding other people that just get it makes such a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you like, I mean, people ask me, oh, how do I find them? I literally went to our Senko at school, who heads up the additional needs for the school, and said, right, statistically, I am not the only parent here.
Yeah.
Let me, like, I want to find them, like, show me the other parents. And it was really sweet. At first she was like, I can't just give you their information. I was like, no, 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 I don't want you to like just,
Yeah.
that's
Hand
weird.
over their
Like,
address.
yeah, like just show up their door. Like I was like, let's do like a coffee morning or a morning, something where we can just gather the parents, particularly mums. Obviously they often are the ones carrying more of the I don't know if burden's the right word, but the realities, the kind of the everyday. Let's just do a coffee morning and see who comes, and then from there, like,
Hmm.
yeah. And so we sat, there's like 10 of us, and we all sat around in a circle and we just was like, this is what happened today, or this is what's happened in the past, or I have a question about this, or just we just sat and chatted for like 2 hours. And afterwards I was like, can I get your numbers? um Definitely leaned into being American, I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
sometimes is a good thing. I was like, so like I tried to really pull out my American accent. I
I
was
don't
like,
know what you mean, Greer.
yeah. But yeah, and we started a WhatsApp group. So I'm in several WhatsApp groups. I always say I'm like, I collect them. I'm like in so many. It's like, but it's again great because we can talk about meetings that have happened, or, different things that happen in school that you aren't, because I mean, I'm very aware that there's another WhatsApp group for my kids' class that I'm not in, because one, I'm not in it, and two, because I hear other parents talk about it and I'm like, I never got that, because my kid has always been seen as kind of the odd one out. And so knowing I have another WhatsApp group for school I'm like, I don't need that. I don't need that one, because one, it sounds like a lot of drama. And two, I have mine
They
that
are
are people,
always
yeah,
loads of
like,
drama, aren't they, in school WhatsApp groups? I remember
yeah,
my son, my older one, I left that one numerous times because I just thought I can't deal with the drama in here.
yeah. It's like, I was like, okay, yeah, no, I don't need to be part of that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so, but I'm in one that I feel like I'm in with people who get it, who, can celebrate when we made it to school on time, or can, all the like, yeah, I'd rather be in the one I'm in than the one that I
Yeah.
hear is full of drama. So,
Mm.
yeah, it's
I
been,
think there's a question that I usually ask right at the beginning, Grin. I think I've set off on a tangent, and like I said to you before we start, we'd probably end up down a rabbit hole. But I'm going to go bring myself back round just to kind of ground myself back in our conversation. I always ask everyone, Greer, are you the perfect parent?
yeah, no.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say, yeah, I am.
Yeah, yes. After 4 years, no,
Got it nailed.
yeah, no, definitely not. I think I've grown a lot as a parent over the
Yeah.
last 4 years, even the last year, as I've understood my own neurodivergence and how my brain works, and giving myself grace.
Yeah.
And just being able to kind of, yeah, understand. So my son, a lot of people, quite a few people have questioned if he has autism, and it's because he is such a verbal person.
Mm.
um but his verbalness, if that's a word, isn't always words. It's just, or it's like repeated words or sounds. So he vocal stems is what we call it. But he just repeats and over and over and over and over and over. And I would find that so degrading. Like it would just get on my nerves. And I was like, how it would just drive me crazy. And I always thought I was failing because his STEM was driving me crazy. But since learning about my own neurodivergence and finding my community, everyone's like, no, like that is annoying. Like you're okay. Like
Mm.
that is okay. And so I think, yeah, having that grace for myself of like, it's okay that this is annoying, or this is okay that I've not I mean, I try and talk about, holding space for all emotions. Like there are times when I don't hold space for all of the emotions and I just snap but it's the rebuild that makes the connection, and I always think correction over connection, which again doesn't always work, but
Yeah.
like it's that
Yeah.
rebuild. If I go back, I mean, I think about, one thing that my parents modeled really well was apologizing to us if something happened.
Yeah.
And, seeing that now being the parent and apologizing to my children, like when things go wrong, like it's I don't know, it's just it sets a different tone in the relationship, like, but in a good way. Like it's like they can trust us. They can trust that, yes, we get it wrong sometimes, but we are aiming to make it right. We are aiming to do what is right. And so I think, yeah, it's a different level of trust.
Yeah. With the groups and stuff that you kind of, I know you kind of got your groups and you've got your online community as well. I just, one thing what's the one thing that kind of really grinds your gears that you hear people talk about when they are talking about parents and maybe parents in neurodivergent families or additional needs families? Did you come up against the kind of term that you hear a lot of maybe professionals use that really kind of gets you?
I think, well, yeah, I think one thing that really annoys me is when people say the parents of neurodivergent kids are lazy.
Yeah.
And like, oh, they don't really have ADHD, they're just lazy, or they don't have autism, they're just lazy, or they want the money because they're lazy. Like I've heard all three of those. I've heard like either about me, like, or about someone else, or like in general, in general terms as well. And I'm like, mate, if you think I'm lazy,
Yeah.
like seriously, like come to my house. Like literally, like like come walk in my shoes. Like because
Yeah.
the amount of prep we do to just leave our house, like, is insane. I have a visual timetable that I set up every morning that has just the morning schedule. Not even, it's not the whole day. It's just the like,
Mm,
this is the 5 things we need to accomplish before we get to out the door to school.
yeah.
Like, and then I'll change it during the day to, the 5 things we need to do after school or whatever, like whatever our schedule is. Like, things like that, or the prep to like, so it's now Christmas, which means we have a lot of extra activities, which I'm aware that when this comes out, it's not Christmas, but
Yeah.
um, just talking about
People might be
like,
recovering from Christmas.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But like all of that prep, like we already have a countdown for different activities that are happening.
Yeah.
We think about um holiday, like going on holiday, the amount of prep that goes into that, like,
Mm,
oh, that really annoys me. I'm like, we are not, if anything, I mean, I feel like I'm doing 10 people job in a
yeah.
day, like,
I
because I'm
agree.
not only just running my own business, but then I'm also an advocate and trying to understand the law that even solicitors don't even fully understand, like, and the
Mm,
nuances of all of that. I'm trying to advocate so my child gets the support that, he needs. I'm a taxi driver to get him to all the places that he needs to be, for all the different kind of, he does like some social therapy, like kind of after school club stuff. He doesn't do speech therapy anymore, but he did that. He'd do some in school and then he'd do some on the weekends as well. And like I'm just like, yeah, no, we're not lazy. Like,
no.
if you think I'm lazy, then I'm going to just call you out and be like, you're double lazy because
Yeah.
you're
Okay. Yeah.
like, yeah. And like, it was really interesting. Someone in my DMs, and they were being really sweet about it. So they weren't trying to start anything. They were like, I'm genuinely trying to understand, but don't you
Mm,
get, I put something out on social media about like, you know, if you want to support a child, support the parent. And they're like, well, don't you get money every month? And I was like, well, first off, like, depends on the country. Like,
yeah.
some countries, yes, some countries you don't. So there's that. I said, second, like, I would give back all the money if it meant I didn't have to go into school every week to like try and help my son,
Mm,
like, or like sit in meetings where I hear, one thing is, sorry, this is totally random, but like one thing I started was in every meeting that I had with school, everyone in the room had to say something positive about my son because I would just leave meetings because they're all about what he's not achieving
Yeah.
or how he's not behaving or, like all these negative things. And I'm like, he's more than these things. Like, so
Yeah.
let's start that. And it has changed the conversation so much. And to the point where I then told my little what school WhatsApp group was like, you all need to start doing this. So it's now become a thing. Like the Cinco has adapted that in
Oh,
so that
amazing.
every meeting she has with a parent, one positive is stated at the start of the meeting and by everyone in the room. And because it just changes the whole atmosphere of that, like, and so yeah, like I just think, I would give back all the money if I could sit in rooms where I wasn't having those conversations.
Mm. Yeah.
Because just because I have money does not that it doesn't go to me really. I mean, it goes to all the things that he needs to do or get or have. We have the amount of sensory things we have in our house that are not cheap. Like they're not
Yeah.
they're not the cheapest. That's what it goes to. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's my one thing is hearing the neurodivergent parents are lazy because we're not.
Yeah. You see, my one's usually that they just need to. That's the one that really
Uh,
gets me. I just think, do you know what I've just had to do this morning?
yeah.
And it
Yeah.
just you just need to do this, and you just think, oh yeah, just like you say, just if you came and sat in my shoes for a bit and realized what we just need to do each day to get out the door, even attempt to think
Yeah.
about school, to recover from school, to go on holiday, to do transitions, to do whatever it is we need to do, that just takes away, the amount of work that it takes and the effort that it takes for sometimes you as a whole family, that it's
Hmm.
not just about one person. Actually, for me as well, I talk quite a lot about the ripple effect within the family, as it's not just my son, there's also me and my other son in there, and how does that ripple up, for all three of us. And that can make life really hard sometimes, and that just you just need to,
Yeah.
yeah, those people need to be way out of my stratosphere.
Yeah. Yeah. They just need to leave.
Yeah,
Like,
goodbye.
yeah. Yeah.
Great. If you had a bit of advice that you could give someone, a bit like you've just said about maybe going into those meetings and be able to say, actually, in meetings, I need to hear something positive about my child. If you had a bit of advice that you could give somebody out there that may be struggling at the moment or having a bit of a tough time, what would it be?
Well, the first advice that I always give is that they're not alone.
Yeah.
That is something that at the start of my journey, I felt, I mean, the amount of times I would stand in front of nursery and feel like I'm the only parent who has a child like this. And yeah, and so to know that you're not alone, there is a whole community of people out there, either online or in your own wherever you are. So yeah, that would be my first and big advice is that you're not alone. And yeah, kind of more practical advice. It's easy to say you're not alone and then do nothing else, but practical advice is I would say, yeah, go to meetings. I walk in, I have a folder or a binder of things that I've kept as evidence, conversations I've had, emails I've had, like all of it's my whole son's pretty much 4 years of life in this binder when it comes to his neurodivergence. That I always take with me to every meeting. So that way, when they say, "Oh, we need evidence for this," I'm like, "Oh yeah, here it is." And it really shows that I'm proactive about this, but also kind of the idea of I'm on it. Like I'm not just trying to do this because
Yeah.
as we've talked about, people, even professionals will think parents are just being lazy or just the other one I've heard is, "Oh, you're reading too much into this." And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not. Like, have you seen
Have
the
to be
meltdowns that
gaslit.
happen? Like,
Yeah.
and so having evidence for things like that. So I always say, like, I mean, I have things in my like notes folder where I'll voice note myself every day, like a 30-second thing of, okay, this happened. I think this is the trigger, and it like writes it out for me. Um,
Okay,
so
cool.
I can go back and like, again, if I'm like, every Monday we seem to be having meltdowns, like let me go back through and see, oh, okay, the last 6 Mondays we've been doing this activity. Let's not do this, like,
And you just do
um,
that through your phone on a little on
yep,
a
yep.
voice note. That's
Yeah.
a
So
really great idea.
voice notes, there's a microphone and I just hit microphone and it just like transcribes what I'm saying. And I just have a running voice note. So I'll say the date. So I'll say like October 10th, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it
Mhm.
just does it. It does get all my ums. So that's also fun to read through. Be like, I say a lot, but it's that kind of, but it's great because I don't have to type it out. I can do it while I'm usually doing it while I'm like cooking dinner or something, or even,
Yeah,
I try and keep it quite quick. I don't try and give a whole story or something because that can then, I get distracted. My own brain will go crazy, but
yeah,
it's a great way to just have evidence and see trends and see, okay, what's going on.
yeah.
And just, yeah, it's a great tool.
I think I'm going to go off and do that one. I've never thought
Yeah.
about doing that. Just like you say, it's really easy. You think, oh, I must kind of make a note of that, and you never get around to doing it, do you? You kind of think, I'm going to write that down in a nice little notebook somewhere. Well, I'm not even going to show you my notebooks. I've got 20 billion of them,
Yeah.
and each of them have got like a little bit in, and I'm into the next one. They look pretty.
Yeah.
But actually, a voice note is a really good way of doing it. I didn't even realize that you can get it transcribed in the voice note. This
Yeah.
could change my life career.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I
Mhm.
do I transcribe so much. When I can sorry, you might want to edit my thought out, but when this comes out, I can officially say that I wrote a book and most of it was written by me speaking.
Tell me about
And
the book.
so yeah. So it's a book I don't have a title for it yet. It's being
Okay.
published by Inspired by Publishing. Great company, highly recommend them. But it is a parenting book for neurodivergent parents, basically. And
Amazing.
it's sitting through kind of talking about meltdowns, I mean, and I always say it's the book I wish I had when I started. So
Yeah.
none of it goes into like, I mean, you could have a whole book on meltdowns, like,
Yeah.
and this is just a chapter, but it's one of those, I didn't want to overwhelm people. That was because
Yeah.
I remember at times feeling super overwhelmed by the information I was Googling.
Yeah.
And I want this book to be like, okay, here are the basics about meltdowns. Here are the basics about kind of language and kind of neuroaffirming practices. Here are the basics about, kind of just emotional regulation. Kind of just here are the basics. Like, here's your
Yeah.
foundation. And then you can go and like deep dive
Yeah.
further. Um, because yeah, I got so overwhelmed. Sorry, my dog's also barking at the mailman.
That's all right.
Um, but yeah, so I wrote it all through not quite voice notes, but through speaking because
Yeah.
I would stare at a blank page and just be like, this is too overwhelming. I cannot write this out. And so I spoke it out, and then over time it's been slightly edited more into not just me
Yeah.
speaking. But part of what I wanted as well was kind of that best friend, the
Yes.
quote unquote best friend energy. I wanted someone to read it and be like, yeah, she sees me. And so I get, she gets what I'm trying to
And that's so
do.
important, isn't it? Right in the beginning, when you get these
So
diagnoses, a lot of the time we get a diagnosis for our kids and then it's like, bye-bye. And they
yeah,
just leave you to it. And you think,
yeah,
well, now what do I do?
yeah,
And actually, that's just the start. You've done all this long work to get there. You get this diagnosis, and then you think, crikey, where do I go now? And like you say, having something really short and to the point that gives you the basics must, even for me and the job that I do, I'd have loved that, I think, just something to hold you in that moment and go, okay, this is okay, and this is
yep,
what kind of basics you need to know about. And then, like you say, then if you want to go deep dive, go deep dive. But
yeah,
actually, here's
yeah,
something that's going to hold you in that moment.
yeah. And again, a big value for me, and partly why I actually went with this publisher was I wanted stories from other people in the
Oh,
neurodivergent community. And so throughout, so there'll be kind of a chapter and then like a little, it's not really a chapter, but it's someone else's story. And then the next chapter will kind of start. And it's just people sharing their story of navigating the neurodivergent world.
no, no.
Because again, that idea that we're not alone, like I want, people to see like, yeah, even, I think about my son isn't PDA, but I know a lot of people who are. And so having someone's voice who is navigating that, I thought this is really important because I want
Yeah,
them to know, yeah, this is this is
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah,
And kind of just different, yeah, kind of different people's voices on
yeah.
different things in their story. So yeah, it's coming together.
How
It's
exciting. When's
happening.
that out then, Greer? When do you...
So it doesn't come out till May, so
Okay.
it's a little while. But yeah, I can now say it's been written. It has now been written. So or voice noted, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it's one of those I think back of our journey and I'm like, I never would have thought this is what I do for a living. I've written a book, I have a podcast, I run my own business. Like never, I literally say if you told me 2 years ago this is what I'd be doing, I'd laugh in your face. Because it's not, but I love what I'm doing and I'm like, this fits me so well and it's just been so fun. So I'm like, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah. And you just mentioned your podcast. So Greer does have a podcast and it was called The Unfinished Idea. So people might have known it for that. But actually, by the time this comes out, it will have a new name, which I've
Mhm.
had to write down because with my dyslexia, I couldn't say it properly, which is now called Neurodivergent Conversations.
Yep.
Yeah, so if
Yeah.
anyone wants to kind of go listen to Greer and her podcast, you might, as say, you might have known her from their old podcast name, but actually there's going to have been a rebrand in that.
Yeah, a little bit. I call it a glow up. We're having a glow up.
A glow up. I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I just it fit like I mean the unfinished idea is my brand still. It's still there. You'll still find me anywhere if you search that. But I just felt like neurodivergent conversation is really what the podcast is about. Is we're having conversations about being neurodivergent or raising a child
Yeah.
who is. And so yeah, let's do that.
Perfect. And I'll put all those show notes, put all that information in the show notes about where you can find Greer. So if you want to find Greer and contact her and maybe look out for her WhatsApp group, it
Yeah.
will all be in there and all her details will be in there. But that just leads me to say, Greer, thank you ever so much for coming on. I've loved talking to you. It's always nice to meet another podcast host as well. So it's been really, really nice to have you on. Thank you ever so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been great.
You're welcome.